probably heard the phrase, you are what you eat. Well, in America, what we eat has changed a lot. Today, the average U.S. diet includes a high proportion of processed and packaged foods, many of them high in added sugars, sodium, and refined fats. These dietary patterns have been linked to rising rates of chronic disease. So today on Brain Snacks, we're unpacking how America's food system evolved, what it's doing to our health, and what's being done slowly but surely to change it. Let's rewind. A couple hundred years ago, the average American meal looked like this. Locally grown vegetables, simple grains, seasonal fruit, and meats raised or hunted nearby. People cooked from scratch. Sugar was scarce, and preserving food meant salting, drying, fermenting, or storing it in a cellar. That all began to change in the 20th century. Industrialization brought railroads, refrigeration, and large-scale farming. Then came World War II, which triggered a nationwide push for efficient, shelf-stable food production to feed both soldiers and civilians. After the war, those innovations were applied at home. The U.S. government began subsidizing crops like corn, wheat, and soy to ensure cheap, abundant calories. Food companies scaled up, and supermarkets, with aisles of prepackaged convenience, became the new normal. Television ads popularized boxed dinners, canned soups, and sugary cereals. Fast food chains spread across the country, and time-saving products like instant noodles, margarine, and frozen meals became kitchen staples. Behind the scenes, food scientists were helping make it all work. They developed new ways to stabilize sauces, preserve textures, and replicate flavors at scale. They reduced spoilage, extended shelf life, and made food cheaper, more uniform, and more appealing. But over time, these tools were also used to maximize convenience and profit, not just nutrition. Whole ingredients were replaced with cheaper fillers. Sugar, salt, and refined fat were added in highly concentrated forms. And foods were engineered to be hyper-palatable, meaning easy to eat and hard to stop. Fast forward to today. Highly processed foods are everywhere, often more affordable and accessible than fresh alternatives. According to USDA data, the average American now consumes about 17 teaspoons of added sugar per day. That's nearly double the recommended limit. So what's the impact? Over decades, diets high in added sugars, sodium, and saturated fats have been linked to chronic conditions like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. According to the CDC, over 42% of U.S. adults are considered obese. More than 11% have diabetes, and many more are pre-diabetic. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death, and rates of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease are rising, especially among people with obesity and insulin resistance. Of course, health outcomes are shaped by many factors, including genetics, environment, physical activity, and access to care. But diet plays a major role, and the consequences extend beyond health, to healthcare spending, productivity, and quality of life. The good news? We're starting to recognize the problem. A 2016 report from the Center for Science in the Public Interest estimated that poor diet contributes to over 500,000 deaths per year in the U.S. More than 80% of healthcare costs now go toward preventable chronic diseases, and surveys show over half of Americans are trying to reduce their intake of ultra-processed foods and added sugar. So what's actually being done? Let's break it down. First, food innovation. A growing number of food companies are rethinking how they make packaged snacks, drinks, and ready-to-eat meals. They're using simpler ingredient lists, cutting back on added sugars and sodium, replacing refined grains with whole ones, and adding more fiber, protein, and healthy fats to improve satiety and blood sugar response. There's also a growing demand for functional foods, products designed not just to taste good, but to support things like gut health, energy levels, or digestion. Much of the shift is being driven by consumer demand. Nearly 70% of consumers now report reading nutrition labels before purchasing packaged foods. And sales of clean label products, those with minimal processing and recognizable ingredients, are growing faster than the rest of the grocery market. Of course, not all of these innovations are perfect. Some quote-unquote healthy products still rely on ultra-processing or use buzzwords to market what's essentially reformulated junk food. Many are more expensive or only available online or in specialty stores, which limits access for many people. But overall, the trend is clear. There's increasing pressure, both from consumers and public health advocates, to make packaged food healthier, more transparent, and more nutritionally aligned with what our bodies actually need. It's not a full reset, but it's a meaningful step in the right direction. Second, healthcare is getting involved. Food as medicine programs are expanding, especially for people with diabetes, heart disease, or high blood pressure. Clinics are offering produce prescriptions and medically tailored meals, and some state Medicaid and Medicare plans are starting to reimburse food-based interventions. Third, farming is changing. Regenerative agriculture, which focuses on soil health, crop diversity, and environmental sustainability, is gaining traction. These farms aim to grow more nutrient-dense food while also improving the land. It's still a small movement, but it's growing. Fourth, technology is helping people eat smarter. Nutrition apps now track not just calories, but fiber, sugar, and glycemic load. Wearables and personalized nutrition tools are helping people understand how food affects energy, digestion, and blood sugar in real time. The personalized nutrition industry is expected to surpass $20 billion globally by 2030. And finally, policy is shifting. The FDA is updating the definition of healthy food labels to align with modern nutrition science. School lunch programs have been improved with limits on added sugar and sodium. And in 2022, the White House hosted its first conference on nutrition and health in over 50 years, signaling renewed national attention on food-related illness. Lawmakers are also debating changes to the Farm Bill, including how billions in food subsidies are distributed and whether more support should go to fruits, vegetables, and sustainable farming. These reforms won't happen overnight, but they reflect real momentum. So where does that leave us? The U.S. food system was built with good intentions, to feed people affordably, reliably, and safely. But somewhere along the way, health got left behind. Today, a quiet shift is underway across farms, startups, clinics, and policy circles to build something better. A system that values nutrition as much as convenience, that makes healthy options easier to access, not harder, and that gives people the tools and the trust to eat well without needing a PhD in food labels. That's all for this episode. Thanks for tuning into Brain Snacks. Subscribe for more big ideas explained simply.